You probably believe that you need flashy editing to make good videos on YouTube, to get views, to get clients, or both. But this couldn't be further from the truth. So in this video, I'm going to show you the new editing style that's working best for business YouTube channels in 2025 and going into 2026, and explain to you exactly how it's done step by step so that you can just copy it. I'm going to go through 5 of the most important techniques that you can adopt today to start making this extremely low effort content that actually gets your business better results than it would if you had extremely annoying editing or you didn't edit at all. So as always, let's start with an example of what not to do so that you don't fuck it up.
Take off your blindfolds. These two people used to date. They had a 4-year romantic relationship and now they're exes. And if they spend 30 days...
So after watching just 9 seconds of this Mr. Beast video, I already want to bleach my eyes. And that's because there is way too much going on for basically a mature adult brain to actually try and comprehend any of the information. But that's really the point of entertainment content, is it's just trying to make you feel good and overload you with flashy stuff. But if you're making business content that's actually purpose built to get clients, you kind of want to do the opposite. So now onto a creator near the other end of the spectrum and not the autistic spectrum, Daniel Priestley. So he's kind of adopted a branding style similar to Ali Abdaal. So I'll just play a bit so you can see what it looks like.
So commercial awareness, self-awareness, and access to resources. I often get comments in the YouTube videos where people say that wouldn't work for me, or that seems high risk. Now, if you're thinking about leaving me a comment on this video or any of my other videos, what I would like you to do is say, oh, that means...
So hopefully that's enough. You kind of get the idea that the cuts that are being made are literally just cuts. It will go from one scene to another with a simple cut. You don't need a stupid sound effect. You don't need some crazy zoom in, zoom out. You don't need a light leak. Imagine this video if it did have all of that over the top editing. The right audience, which is older people who run a business, would probably not watch this. And so if you're someone who's trying to target those kinds of people and you're trying to sell a high ticket product or even a digital product or whatever it is, you're going to struggle if you're trying to over edit your videos. That brings us to technique 2 out of 5, which is visuals. The biggest problem with creators like Will Brown, and sorry to target him specifically, but he's an easy example, is they don't use enough visuals. And whilst that might work for some videos on occasion, a lot of the time, even in the business niche, it's just not interesting enough to actually hold your attention the whole way through. And you'll see that with some of my videos where I'm breaking down a Miro diagram. And in those videos, if you got rid of the Miro and you just had me talking, it would actually be really boring. And so another creator that fits into this bucket of people that don't over edit but also don't under edit is Alex Becker. So you'll see with a lot of his content, and I'll just skip through it, you can see he uses very, very basic, almost comical visuals to illustrate his points. Now, he could have paid $500 for some crazy editor to come in and animate exactly what he's saying beautifully with gorgeous diagrams and all sorts of After Effects, motion graphics shit. But instead, he just puts it on a whiteboard, draws it with his mouse. You can barely read the words that he's putting in there, but it works. And in fact, if you're someone that is a richer client, you're probably more interested in watching this kind of thing, and it's more entertaining to you because it doesn't have that annoyance factor that a typical over-edited video has. So another example of a high-level business owner that employs basic visuals is Jeremy Haynes.
One of the other things that's along the lines of that type of thinking, but a different lesson in itself, is you have to avoid split testing your way to poverty, okay? I get so many people.
So Jeremy's videos generally don't have that many visuals. He might use his iPad to illustrate certain points. There are other times where he has simple motion graphics that come up on the screen, so he is paying an editor to do that. But the key principle here is it's not annoying, it's not detracting from what he's saying, and it's not overstimulating us. So now to illustrate technique number 3, I'm going to use Alex Hormozi as an example. So I'm going to play a bit of the video and let's see if you can work out what exactly he's doing to keep a high quality audience still engaged.
And I just see this as more flexible meal prepping that another business does more efficiently than me. And so for a period of multiple years, I ate Chipotle twice a day, and it came...
What Hormozi does is he uses multiple shots. So in this example, he will have one camera in front of him and then a camera 2 to the side. You may have noticed that he has a camera above as well, so a bird's eye view onto what he's actually writing. So even if you removed all of the motion graphics and the edits that I personally think are kind of crap anyway, you would be left with a video that's still highly engaging because we're not just staring at the same thing without any cuts. And another key thing that Hormozi did here is subtle crop-ins or zooms, just to emphasize certain points that he's making, and again feel like there's some kind of movement or motion with the camera rather than everything just being a bit stagnant. Another creator that prints money on YouTube, in fact, I imagine the majority of his revenue comes from YouTube, and he's not really known for editing very much, if at all, is Dan Koe. Now, yes, he definitely does edit, but again, he fits into this category of very, very low editing, and very little effort actually needs to go into these videos to still make them good. So let's play a bit of this.
Their brands, their social media profiles, were just their public journals. Their head or personality, or how they perceived the world and collected an intersecting set of ideas that nobody else could replicate, was their competitive edge. So when I started to treat my social media account as a public journal, or where I take notes, work started to feel like play. Now, how does that make money?
So after watching that short clip of Dan Koe, it should be immediately obvious to you that this is not someone that edits a lot. But what that means is that when there is editing there and there's text on the screen, it's way more intentional. The words actually hit harder than if they were super over edited. And so that pretty much describes technique number 4, which is using your edits to supplement powerful moments and specific powerful words that you're trying to get across to the viewer. So a lot of the time people are only going to remember like 10-20% of the information that you're giving them in the video. So use edits to your advantage so that when an edit does happen, it's there to basically double down on the most important points that you're making. So Nisha is another creator that makes really minimalistic content that a lot of higher value audiences would watch. And you can see similarities between her and Dan Koe in the way that they use edits to basically emphasize powerful moments without actually being distracting or overstimulating the viewer.
It's honestly mind-blowing when you think about it. When you start learning about money in your 20s, understanding how compound interest works, figuring out the difference between bad debt, good debt, or just getting clear on where your money goes each month.
And look, the great benefit of making videos like this that is optimized for getting actual business customers, not just views and virality, is that you don't actually need to do that much work. Like if you're editing the video yourself, it will take you a couple hours. If you're paying an editor, it'll be a lot cheaper than if you got an editor to edit an absolute monster of a video. It's very easy and natural to do it. You're not scripting everything. You're not thinking about how the editor is going to turn this into some cool diagram. And in some ways, you could argue that you're almost dumbing down the content so that it's easier to consume because the words that you're saying and the concepts that you're explaining are more complex. And so they should be paired with a delivery style that is simpler. The 5th and final technique that I'm going to give you that makes a world of difference in getting people to watch your minimalist content, especially people that are actually potential buyers, can actually be illustrated very well with podcasts. So podcasts are often an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe even longer than that, but they're rarely edited at all. So how is it that they're able to grab attention and maintain it throughout the majority of the podcast? This principle is basically the 30-second rule, where almost every podcast or any podcast that's successful will focus on creating a highlight reel in the first 30 seconds of the video that spikes your emotions and builds curiosity so that people watch almost all the way through. But how, as a business YouTube creator, can you steal this idea and apply it to your content so that you get more views from the right people? Well, the best way to do this is exactly what James Smith does, is you focus on the first 30 seconds of the video. Of course, there's still a line that could be crossed where it ends up being too over edited and only attracts basically brain rotted children and puts off any adults that actually have money that are looking to work with you or buy your products or whatever. So I'll show you an example now.
Imagine a world where people sell sweets online and that they lie to their customers by telling them that they have creatine inside them. Imagine that they make millions of dollars doing this. They completely get away with it whilst fooling their audiences.
5 grams of creatine.
5 grams of creatine.
You get 5 grams of creatine.
2 months ago, I unveiled a multi-million-pound scam.
So you can see that this is actually way more editing than you might expect for a mature video that is maybe attracting clients or customers. But if we go further into the video, you can see that it's actually really not that edited. The purpose of the faster cuts, the scripting, the music is obviously to get your attention in that first 30 seconds as if it's a highlight reel for a podcast so that you stick around for the rest of the video. Because you can see as I flick through the rest of the video, a lot of this video is just James. I mean, he's literally on ChatGPT right now with his head in a circle, probably a bit like what this video might look like right now. And you can see, again, I skip a bit further, more of the same. This is just him talking to the camera, basically a loom. just talking to the camera, puts a basic graph on the screen, and that's basically the whole video done. So in terms of editing, the majority of the effort there actually just went into the first 30 seconds, maybe the first minute, to find all of those clips and kind of mash them together. But what that results in is a very watchable video for people that are actually looking for information, education, services, tutorials, versus someone that's just looking for entertainment. But obviously, even with those 5 techniques that I've just given you, you will probably still struggle on YouTube. That's just the reality. Sorry to say it. A lot of the success on YouTube doesn't just come from your editing style or the way that you speak. A lot of it is actually just the ideas that you can come up with. So if you are someone that's struggling to get the right ideas that will actually grow your business as well as your channel, I'm going to put a video on the screen where I actually rank the different types of video ideas that you can use in order to build your business, not just get more views and subscribers and likes and shares that no one really cares about if you're not making money. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.